Hello and welcome back. In this week's video I'm going to show you how to clean and service the Singer 99K. Now this particular Singer sewing machine is actually a centenary edition, which is why it's got this badge here. It was made in February 1951 and we have the blue badge to celebrate a century of Singer Sewing Machine Corporation. I bought this machine simply for that badge. It was 20 quid off Facebook Marketplace. Now the Singer 99K is a 3/4 sized machine, okay, so it's not as big as some of the Singer sewing machines. It is a little bit smaller and it is a straight stitch only machine. Now though this machine is 74 years old, they're brilliant. They're great little machines, they give a high quality stitch and they're great for beginners to learn on. But obviously being 74 years old and having been stored in someone's attic for a considerable amount of time, she does need a bit of TLC before we can get stitching on her. So before we start servicing our machine, there are a few things that we're going to need. First of all, we need a cloth, okay, for cleaning and polishing and getting up any little oil spills. Sewing machine oil, a brush to get out all the fluff bunnies and anything else we find, a flathead screwdriver, either one like this brown one, okay, that's a proper Singer's one, or I've even been able to pick up these little mini ones, which are great for getting off, you know, feed dog plates and things like that. A set of tweezers, just in case there is a massive buildup of fluff anywhere. Some machines you will take the faceplate off and the feed dog plate off and it will look like there's 74 years worth of sewing thread stuck in there and dander and all sorts. It can be grim, but they do clean up and then they're great to go. And then obviously needles. I'm going to put a new needle in this. It currently doesn't have a needle in, but if you do pick an older machine up off a seller, you know, and you're going to give it a clean and a service and get it up and running again, always put a new needle in. It's a few pence, makes a big difference. So the Singer 99K is a really simple and easy machine to work on, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take off the bobbin cover, I'm going to slide this door open and I'm going to take the faceplate off because these are the main areas where dust and dander and all the nasty bits collect. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my foot off because we don't need that in place when we're cleaning and servicing the machine, and also it gives us better access to the bobbin plate, which is just here, which goes into the feed dog area. I'm going to take my little screwdriver and undo these two screws that are on the feed dog plate. I'm going to slide this plate open here to the side. Try not to push it too far back because it will pop off. They can be a bit fiddly to get back on. If these pop off, you have to slide them on from the opposite side, so from over here. So that's that cover off, and you can get to the bobbin and the feed dog areas to clean. And then now I'm going to remove this plate on the front. So you simply undo this knob here. And then if this screw is tightened, you may have to slacken it off, but it will just slide off. And that's your faceplate off. So the first area I'm going to focus on is these mechanisms here. It is pretty clean. I am just going to give it a bit of a flick out because I can see there's some dust just caught in there. I'm using my soft fluffy brush. You can use a stiffer brush, a little paint brush, anything you've got really. This is a makeup brush. Yeah, so you just want to brush out any dust, any danders that are there. This machine is actually very clean, which I'm surprised at. And then we're going to set to and we're going to oil all the moving parts. So anywhere where there's metal on metal, excuse me wobbling you see all those parts that move will need to be oiled. So I'm just going to start at the top, a bit in here. To the back. And I'm also going to oil, you can see my presser foot mechanism, how it goes up and down. So this needs a little bit of oil in here just to loosen it up nicely, make sure everything's working really well. And I'm also checking how it engages the tension unit, because your tension unit obviously is really important. And looking at this, I will have to do a little bit of work on the tension unit, because there is a pin within your tension unit that slides forwards and backwards, yeah, on your tensioning system. And at the minute, this isn't really hitting the pin and releasing the tension discs, but I will have a look at that shortly. So the next area I'm going to look at is the bobbin area and the feed dogs. You see how this all moves round and round. So there is some fluff caught in here that I will need to brush out. So I'm just going to go around with the brush now and try and get rid of some of them fluff bunnies that are all caught in there, because there's quite a few. I might have to dig out my stiffer brush for this. Get my tweezers down the back and just scrape some of these bits out that are there. You see some bits of fluff out from the back of the bobbin area. We're stuck in a bit of old sewing machine oil. We can just get in and pick those out. One thing we do not want to do, okay, is to remove this red piece of felt here. This red piece of felt is actually a wick. Okay, so this is an oil wick to feed oil down into the hook mechanism. Yeah, as you can see, this machine is a top load bobbin. A lot of people think top load bobbins are quite a new thing. They're not. They've been around for many, many years. There are quite a few Singer machines that use a top load bobbin. The 201K, obviously the 99K that I'm working on here, and also I believe the 66K is. I've got two 66Ks. I will be doing videos on those soon. I'll remind myself when I'm digging them out later. So I'm going to put a little drop of oil on the oil wick so it feeds down into the bottom of the bobbin area. Yeah, so let that spin round and get some of that oil off the oil wick. You can see there's a bit more fluff there. It needs to be removed. We don't want any fluff building up, because that will affect, obviously, how the hook mechanisms spin. It will affect how the fabric feeds through the machine. So if this area gets filled with fluff, which happens quite often, there's many a vintage machine I've come to, and the feed dogs are actually completely clogged with fluff, and people are like, it doesn't sew, it doesn't feed. And you give it a clean and then it's working perfectly. So yeah, so you've got to check that this area is clear of fluff and dander and fluff bunnies. And once you've done that and you've oiled that wick, we're now going to replace all our face plates. So in order to put our plates on, we just reverse the process we did for taking them off. So we can slide that up onto there, tighten this into here. I will just check the bottom of the bobbin plate, because sometimes you do get fluff, or the feed dog plate even, you do get fluff gathering in here as well. And I'll just give that a quick wipe down. This machine is actually surprisingly clean for saying it's been stored in someone's attic for many, many years. I got this machine off a gentleman whose mother had passed away, and he was clearing her house, and it was discovered in the attic along with a number of other of her possessions. So now we've got all our plates back on, we're going to look at putting oil in various oil ports across the top of the machine to get to the working parts inside. Now, unlike some Singer models such as the 66K, etc., this doesn't have a plate on the front that you can open up and access any of the moving parts inside it. This is built, it's a complete solid cast unit of metal. So what they've got is a number of oil ports across the top to get oil down to the working parts inside. So you just put a little drop of oil in each of these parts, each of these little holes here. This one here has a wick within it. Okay. And give it a few turns to get that oil working through the machine. There's also a small oil port here which gets oil onto the main drive shaft. So I'm also going to just remove the screw a little for the presser foot pressure. We'll screw that back down. This is a common part that can seize up. I'm just going to give it a quick wipe round as well, get rid of any excess oil. So yeah, the presser foot pressure can be quite a common area that will seize up. If you've got a machine that hasn't been used for a while, you might need to use a pair of pliers just to loosen that off. And I will obviously twist that up and down a few times. So that's the top of the machine oiled. That's all gone into the working parts on the inside of the machine. The next things we're going to look at is the bobbin winder and the stitch length adjuster. So with the bobbin winder mechanism on these machines, it does press down to engage. It's been a bit temperamental. There we go, and then it will pop up once the bobbin is wound. There are a number of swings and moving parts that will need a spot of oil. And obviously, as always, check if there's any fluff or threads caught in these mechanisms. Sometimes you will get threads caught up and, you know, they will tangle around these areas and jam them all up. But this one's really, really clear. I've got a Wilcox and Gibbs that I'll be filming shortly. And that one is particularly grotty, I should say. Grotty. It's got a lot of threads caught in it, let's put it that way. But the Wilcox and Gibbs mechanism is very different. So anything that moves, oil it. Yeah, with these machines. They're all metal machines. So it's not like dealing with your modern machines that have got a lot of plastic parts and you can't oil certain areas. These are all metal and they need oil pretty much everywhere. So that's the bobbin winding mechanism oiled. I'm going to leave this excess oil on here for a little while just to let it all soak. And then the next thing we're going to do is have a look at this knob here. So this knob here adjusts the stitch length on this machine. Really simple design, these machines. So I'm just going to wind it out away, put some oil on it, and then wind it in and out a few times. Again, this is another knob that you might find on these machines when you get them that could be seized. You know, soak it with some oil, bit of gentle persuasion with a pair of pliers, and they will come loose. And just turn that in and out a few times. Just to get that oil worked in really well and keep this area really loose. So that's all the top half of the machine cleaned and oiled. The next thing we need to do is fold this machine back and do the underside. So to lean these machines back, it's really simple. It's got a little knob here that you just slacken off, pull the lever around, and then you can carefully lean your machine back. And then you can hold it in place, or you can put something behind your machine just to keep it in position. So now we can access the underside of the machine. We need to oil and clean all these moving parts. So like I say, this machine isn't actually too bad. I've seen much worse. So I'm just going to give it a quick going over with the brush, check for any big build-ups of fluff, any damaged parts, any bent bits, because this is the main moving mechanism for the machine under here. So now I've given that a quick clean out, I'm going to get everything oiled. So I always start at the top, work my way down and check each part as I go. So I'm going to start at the back. Anything that moves, anything that's metal on metal will get oiled. And then we give the machine a little bit of a turn to work that oil in. And I'm going to move to the front here. Oops, something that moves. I am being a bit liberal with the oil. You only need a few drops. If a machine hasn't been used for quite a while, you might want to use a few drops more. Obviously, because these machines can and do seize, but with lots of oil and a bit of patience, they'll soon get going again. So anywhere where there's metal on metal, any moving parts, we oil. As you can see on the top of here, there are two little holes. That is for the oil to go into. There's a hole here which feeds into our bobbin mechanism. And then there's an area that you probably can't see on the camera at the moment. Just hang on. And you see all this area here. Okay, all these moving parts need to have a few drops of oil just on them. This is all part of the bobbin mechanism at the front of the machine. These machines are really simple. You know, they're easy to service, they're easy to maintain, and they're very easy to use. So that's all moving nice and freely now. So I'm just going to go around and wipe off all the excess oil. And you can see I've got a few drips and dribbles that we don't really want. Yep. She's moving freely. She's clean. And that's good. So now I'm just going to lean the machine back into its original position. Give it a spin. And that's your machine all cleaned and oiled and ready to go. I just need to insert the needle. So with the Singer 99K, when you come to insert the needle, the flat side needs to be pointing to the right, and it will go to the front side of the bracket that holds the needle in place. There is a groove that this will slot into. Okay, it can be a bit fiddly, so just be patient. It doesn't help that my hands are super oily right now. Sometimes you may need to slacken your clamp off that holds your needle in place a little bit more as well. Okay, it should fit. There we go, into that groove, and then we just tighten this screw off here so it holds your needle nicely. And we just check the path of the needle, make sure it's not catching anything. There we go, that's your needle inserted. So that's the Singer 99K, all cleaned and serviced and ready for use. Very simple machine to clean and maintain. A great little machine to learn on. If you have any questions, please drop me a comment. It's also a great help to me if you like and subscribe to my channel. It means I can bring you more great sewing content, whether it's about vintage machines and how to care for them and use them, or anything else that you might be interested in. So yeah, take care. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.